are. But last December, BuzzFeed News reported that Kolfage had an extensive history of creating or profiting from fake inflammatory news and conspiracy theories. So apparently he wrote a website, and the website's headlines are... Did he write a website? I think he wrote a website, and the website's headlines, according to BuzzFeed here, often screamed about how Muslims were raping and harming innocent women, children, and service members, how Hillary Clinton was hiding deadly illnesses, how billionaire Democratic donor George Soros was funding domestic terrorists, stories like Obama's pedophile secret out after Department of Justice Defense released startling memo to public. After Department of Defense releases startling memo to public, would often appear on multiple sites and Facebook pages, spreading them to wider audiences, making people believe, or even a small fraction of people believe, some pretty dumb stuff. So on Saturday, Kolfage posted a message on the group's Facebook page stating, "There's no update because we're remaining silent for a very good reason. You will all have the best president very soon." Okay. He claimed to be working with congressmen and senators to help mitigate these issues from left-wing attack groups, and Kolfage added the details of the project are on a very need-to-know basis. Good to know, folks. Whoever donated this, honestly, is next level stupid. Like, what would you do? Why? I don't get it. Like, how could you do that? It just doesn't make any sense. It just does not make any sense why you would want to go and build a wall. Like, fools and their money are soon parted, folks. That's the lesson of the day. Jeez. Republicans in Congress are so mad at a Republican in Congress, that's Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Richard Burr. So what did he do? He subpoenaed Donald Trump Jr. earlier this week, and pretty much everyone of the Republicans in Congress are going to war against him. Republican Senator Richard Burr, who chairs the committee, has found himself publicly goaded by many of his colleagues to abandon the subpoena. This could work out well for Don himself, who is already apparently planning to not comply with the subpoena. That's because this is the Trump way, just breaking the law. The extraordinary pressure campaign taking place in public and in private is forcing the party senators to choose between their loyalty to the Intelligence Committee and to the president's family, as it attempts to quash any remaining investigations of the president after the completion of the investigation by the special counsel Robert Mueller III. Even as the chairman privately defends his approach, the attack appeared to be paying at least some dividends for the president's eldest son, Donj, putting that hammer down, he could theoretically face calls to be held in contempt of Congress if he did not comply with the subpoena, but the question is, will he? Apologies there. So several people close to the younger Trump have apparently said that he was unlikely to appear in person, and said one option was to invoke the Fifth Amendment in the written response, because obviously the Trump strategy, if you didn't know, is really to take the path of maximum resistance, maximum obstruction here against these congressional investigations that are, even though they're run by your own party, they are supposed to be taking them on really quite aggressively. Tom Tillis, a Republican who's facing a primary challenge by a more conservative challenger next year, was facing serious pressure to oppose the subpoena. Trump allies told the Times that the president may endorse his Tillis opponent if he doesn't get in line. The campaign seems to be working, as Tillis tweeted on Thursday. The committee should move on from the bipartisan investigation of Russia's interference with the 2016 election, saying, quote, "I agree with Leader McConnell. The case is closed. The Mueller report cleared Donald Trump Jr., and he's already spent 27 hours testifying before Congress. Dems have made it clear that this is about politics. It's time to move on and start focusing on issues that matter to all Americans." So yeah. Other Republicans, including some members of the Intelligence Committee, also objected publicly, such as Rand Paul, Steve Daines, and John Conran, also Intelligence Committee members. Conran is an Intelligence Committee member. I don't know about Paul and Daines. I don't think they are. Politico reported that Burr has no current intention of withdrawing the subpoena, so that's good. He declined to comment on the issue of reporters. I told you I'm not going to chat right now, saying, quote, "I'm in the middle of something." The Times reported that in a closed-door meeting, Mitch McConnell apparently defended Burr, making the most ghoulish senator another target for Trump defenders, and Susan Collins also gave her qualified support. We have been able to do one of the bipartisan congressional investigation into Russian counterintelligence efforts and its campaign to influence public opinions and election in this country. I think it's vital that we complete that work, Collins told the Times. None of this is likely to matter beyond the round of Republican infighting, but Don Jr. has essentially promised he won't be testifying as Trump. Yeah, they're going to continue to take the path, I think, really a maximum resistance and not really give things up. And pretty much, just blatantly say, yeah, screw you, we're not testifying, which sucks, but is the way to, it's kind of the way to go. It's like unfortunate, it sucks, but it is kind of the way to go. All right, so, yeah, Chobani yogurt, at least if John cheated, by the way. Chobani Yogurt, they've donated $50,000 to pay off low-income family lunch debts after Rhode Island revealed plans to feed poor students jelly sandwiches instead of hot meals. So shout out to Hamdi Ulukaya, tweeting that Chobani would pitch in money on Thursday. He said nutritious food should be a right, not a privilege. And the Rhode Island City Mayor's office said it was working with Chobani to accept the $50,000 donation that would cover students' debt. So that is pretty cool stuff. Shout out to Chobani here, stepping up to pay off school lunch debts. Warwick Public Schools in Rhode Island revealed the controversial news that it would start giving students sunflower butter and jelly sandwiches instead of hot meals until their school lunch balance accounts were paid off or a payment plan was set up. Just, again, really kind of awful stuff. It doesn't really need to be happening. If we funded education just a little bit more. CEO Hamdi Ulukaya tweeted that Thursday that as a parent, the news broke his heart. Access to nutritious food should be a right, not a privilege, he said. I'm going to follow this guy on Twitter. He said he is going to pay it off. In an accompanying video with his tweet, Ulukaya said, sorry I'm mispronouncing his name there, no child should be facing anything like this. I know it breaks our heart, but it breaks many people's heart as well, and we need to step up. We'll take care of the school's bill because everybody at Chobani was heartbroken, and they're stepping up, and they're going to do something about it. So, yeah, big credit to them. They're doing a great job. That lunch looks awful. Yeah, what is that? Jesus Christ. That looks, if you see a picture of it, like I'm looking at now, it's not good. Chobani was just but one of businesses and organizations that offered to donate money to the district, which is pretty cool. Good to see everyone kind of stepping up. Someone thanks Chobani for being an advocate for our children. Solomon, on his Facebook page, Solomon is the school official there. This district includes 19 schools and about 1,650 students owe money as of last Friday, and about 70% of those students are now enrolled in the program for free or reduced price lunches, according to the school committee. The mayor's office is trying to plan an event to accept the donation formally, since spokeswoman Courtney Marciano, as there's been an outpouring of support from across the country. It was really nice to see, and hopefully we don't have to do this anymore and realize that, maybe there is a better way. All right. Finally, a little bit of a treat for you. Ben Shapiro melting down and running out of a BBC interview. Yeah, he's obviously the right-wing thinker, the baby Hitler defender, and former toothbrush startup endorser. He rose to fame thanks to his combative, shrill interview style that promised quote-unquote total destruction of any liberal talking point or talking head that he encountered. Unfortunately, the saying goes, if you live by the sick burn, you die by the sick burn. And today, the wheel of online ownage has turned for Ben Shapiro. Consider this interview today with the BBC presenter Andrew Neil. This was actually, I think this was last Friday that this took place. Neil and Shapiro started to clash when Neil read some of Shapiro's old tweets and challenged him on some of the things that he had done and said. Because, again, Neil's a conservative journalist, but the thing is the way that you're actually supposed to do the way you're actually supposed to do political journalism is you're actually supposed to challenge. No way, you're supposed to challenge the person, even if you do agree with a lot of what they say, and ask them really provocative questions. Ask them, force them, make them defend their beliefs. And there's plenty of beliefs for Ben Shapiro to defend that he needs to defend because they're pretty bad. Consider this interview today with BBC presenter Andrew Neil. He purportedly about Shapiro's new book. Neil and Shapiro started to clash when Neil read some of Shapiro's old tweets. Shapiro started out relatively irate, which looked particularly silly in contrast to Neil's dispassionate, amusing line of questioning. He looks so British. He's just sitting there with his glasses on his nose. He's like, please answer the question. So this is a clip here. And people, he's apparently supposed to be like equivalent to someone on like the National Review, kind of a centrist, a pretty typical conservative, on the at least on the British right. He's a Tory, so that is something that Ben Shapiro did not know and thought was very funny. Neil thought it was very funny when he called him a lefty.
Why is it that a bill banning abortions after a woman has been pregnant for 6 weeks is not a return to the Dark Ages? What's your answer?
My answer is something called science. Human life exists at conception. It ought to be protected. Now, back to my question to you. You purport to be an objective journalist. BBC purports to be an objective down-the-middle network. It obviously is not. It never has been. And you as a journalist are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the Dark Ages. Why don't you just say that you're on the left? Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest?
Mr.
Seriously,
Shapiro,
it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it.
Yeah, because keep in mind here, he's talking to a quite British conservative. He's editor of Rupert Murdoch's Sunday Times, and currently is the chairman for the very conservative British magazine The Spectator. Well, he's obviously an incisive, challenging interview. Calling him on the left is insanely dumb. Shapiro getting more and more flustered, particularly throughout the 60 Minutes interview, and it pretty much, when Neil started reading out all the heinous stuff Shapiro has tweeted before, this happened, and Shapiro decided he was done.
I just asked you a question.
And I asked you a question. You failed to answer a single one of mine. Frankly, I find this whole thing a waste of time. If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of me.
Why don't you
frankly,
just try and
I don't care. I don't frankly give a damn what you think of me since I've never heard of you.
And I've never heard of you until I briefed myself for this.
Yeah, that's
but
the problem.
Not the issue. You have
why the hell are you interviewing me,
it's an interesting book. But my point is, your book claims that society...
Well, it'd be nice if you would quote it from time to time.
Your book is... Well, actually, I've done so several times, and I'm about to do so again, if you would let me just finish the question. Your book
frankly,
claims
I don't think
that society
honestly,
is turning its back
sir,
on Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah,
what are those values?
What
are the values it's turning its back on?
That's a perfectly good journalistic
an interview
question.
with a person as badly motivated as you as an interviewer. So I think we're done here. I appreciate your time, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time and for showing that anger is not part of American political discourse. Now, Mr. Shapiro, we'll say goodbye.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. Thank you for showing that anger is not part of American political discourse. Yeah. That is a sick burn on the way out there from Andrew Neil. Yeah, good job for him for showing really American interviewers how to be on. Like, no matter what side you're on, you got to ask the guy some pretty tough political questions. Like, make him defend his beliefs as an interviewer. Put your own ideology aside for a minute and make him defend his beliefs, even if you agree with said beliefs. And Shapiro obviously did not know what he was coming from. He doesn't really face interviews like that very often, and boy did he get a wake-up call when Andrew Neil of BBC came around. All right, so that is about it for us today. Thank you so much for watching the Wake Up continuing all week in a new episode of The List this week, probably on the earlier side, reacting to a crazy episode of Game of Thrones last night.